because we would like to offer the final word before we head for lunch to the chairman of the British Hospitality Association, who is, of course, Nick Varney, the CEO of Merlin Entertainments. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our chairman to the stage.
Hello. I thought this was going to be hard before a room full of people were promised lunch immediately. Anyway, hello. It's good to see you all. Before I head into the speech that I actually originally prepared, I'd just like to say a few words about the recent terrorist attacks in Manchester and London. I mean, obviously, our thoughts are with everybody directly affected, and our hearts go out to those who lost their lives, were injured, or have lost loved ones. I think from the perspective of the industry, hospitality and tourism, we all know we're going to be in for quite a difficult period in the short term, at least. But what I also know is, as in the past, it will be this industry that leads the way in saying that Britain remains open for business and that the terrorists won't win. We have a very resilient tourist economy. London is a magnificent city, as is the wider country. We can lead the world, we do lead the world in offering unique, fantastic welcomes to our guests from home and abroad. And I just say that as both chairman of BHA and as head of Merlin Entertainments, I'm immeasurably proud to be with all of you in this room, part of doing that and sending that message. So with that, and hopefully the slides will work, I will move on to my original speech. And what I wanted to really start with is 2 general elections and a referendum ago, politicians in the UK were concerned with a very different issue than those that concern them today. Unemployment, and in particular, the potentially explosive issue of youth unemployment and a generation lost to worklessness. It's an article from February 2011. In the intervening period between then and now, that problem has largely gone away, courtesy in no small measure to over 400,000 jobs created by tourism and hospitality, and within that, 75,000 16 to 25-year-old jobs, about a third of all of those created in the economy over that period. Now, why do I mention this at the beginning of the 2017 summit and on the eve of another general election? Well, 2 reasons. Firstly, just to highlight the still undervalued and underappreciated value that this industry brings to the UK economy, particularly in terms of job creation, particularly in providing entry-level jobs to young people and rewarding careers for those who may not, for whatever reason, go on to university. The second reason, more pressing right now, is that there is a dangerous bidding war going on amongst the various political parties as they all vie for new vote-winning policies. Nothing new in that, you might say, but in the vital area of, and my slide's not working again. Do I have to point this at something? There we go. Apologies for the terribly photo-cropped image here. We had fun in the office doing it anyway. But in this vital area of employment legislation, they are all bidding against each other. But the problem is they're bidding with other people's money, namely the money of businesses large and small across the UK. So George Osborne, partly in a move calculated to wrong-foot the Labour Party, announces without consultation, without warning, a living wage and sets a target of £9.20 by 2020. Labour and Jeremy Corbyn, followed by the SNP, take that and raise that bid to £10. In certain circles now, people talk freely of £11 or £12 an hour. The problem is, as with auto-enrolment of pensions, apprenticeship levy, maternity, paternity pay, it is businesses that have to cover the cost of those initiatives. And ours is a people industry, with most businesses, small or large, having employment of around 30 to 50% of their cost base. And under those circumstances, externally induced cost hits on that level
can actually put some under, but will put all under pressure. Now, I think we can give the benefit of the doubt that for the most part, these policies are well-intentioned. We all want to pay our people more. We would all like to invest more in training and development and provide for good pensions. The problem is that these policies are being dropped on us by politicians who largely don't have a lot of understanding of business and have still less understanding of big people employment industries like hospitality and tourism. If you add to that the looming uncertainties of Brexit, potential restrictions on trade and visas, you have a big industry, the fourth biggest employer in the UK, being put at a significant competitive disadvantage just at the point when the economy probably needs it most. And it sort of goes without saying as well that in any future economic downturn, whether Brexit inspired or not, those job gains of recent years could equally be reversed. So what is to be done? Well, we have some recommendations for any new government coming in. And first and foremost, I'd like to sort of shoot one big elephant in the room. And that is my fervent belief that this industry cannot continue to reside under the remit of the Department of Culture, Media and Sport. Nor must an industrial policy and strategy, if one is formed, be the sole remit of Visit Britain, a DCMS agency. This is a significant British industry, contributing a lot to GDP, a lot to jobs, with a very broad private sector base of large and small companies. And it is not even top-tier priority within the DCMS. So it's very clear that this industry needs to be residing within the business department, where it would have a more effective and appropriate champion, and where that much aspired to seat at the table will be available when industrial policies are formed. Because at the moment, that seat at the table is in another room, and it's not the one we want to be in. So having established that, let's get on to some issues of policy. In the area of employment legislation, we have to get away from this dangerous bidding war that is going on around the living wage and other employment measures. And it's very, very clear that taking the politics out of that means letting it reside within the Low Pay Commission, the objective, independent body that at least takes into account businesses' ability to pay. As our BHA manifesto says, no plans, promises, or targets for the national living wage, and at least please talk to the people that have to pay it. Second area, business rates. Another recent body blow coming to a lot of operators in our industry, the virtual removal of transitional relief, really just serves to highlight that the current business rates policy is completely unfit for purpose. It disproportionately hits capital-intensive businesses like hotels, restaurants, and visitor attractions, while giving a pretty free pass to those in the digital economy, while almost perversely giving them also tax exemptions. So it's clear that in the future, either tax exemptions and allowances need to be made available to capital-intensive businesses like our industry, or, more profoundly, the whole system needs to be changed to better reflect and treat more fairly bricks and mortar businesses like those in the hospitality and tourism sector. Thirdly, the vexed subject of immigration. I know that's come up this morning. What we're arguing for is evidence-based immigration targets. Currently, all the talk is about special exemptions post-Brexit for astrophysicists and doctors and engineers, but without chefs, front-of-house staff and cleaners, huge parts of the hospitality industry will also grind to a halt. Now, I think we all recognise that any incoming government will have a mandate to at least try and control immigration, and we believe that that should be done over a phased 10-year plan. We can work with government on that and contribute to the execution of that policy, but it needs to be met halfway, with government recognising the profound importance of our industry to the economy and also helping to promote it to British people as a career of choice, which is not something they do at the moment. And then finally, on to taxation, and in particular VAT. And I have to say, I am frankly fed up with the naysayers who claim that we will never achieve our objective of a reduction in VAT on accommodation, attractions, and in the longer-term restaurants. Why on earth not? The case has been proven, unarguably, by putting it through the Treasury's own econometric model. It was, quote, one of the most effective discretionary tax cuts ever seen put through the model. Almost every other country in Europe is already doing it. And on top of that, it is potentially the silver bullet solution to a whole host of problems and opportunities facing our industry. Now, first and foremost amongst those, I think that it is absolutely clear that outside of security concerns, the single biggest determinant of long-term success or failure in the tourism economy is price. This is a chart that we presented earlier this year at Merlin's preliminary results. And what it maps is the relative value of the pound versus the euro to inbound holiday visitation to the UK. And with a lag, to take account of the way bookings work, it clearly shows that in that period when the pound was down around 120 to 125 euros to the pound, we had a rise in visitation from abroad. When in 2015, in the first half of 2016, we were hitting levels of around 140 euros to the pound, we saw the drop. And then post-Brexit, with a 3-month lag, you then see at the end of that chart the rapid rise as the very competitive pound brought more visitors into the UK. And I've been in this business nearly 3 decades now. I hate to say it, but I have. And I've seen this played out time and time again. Price is the issue. And do you know what? Politicians, for all that they might claim otherwise, they know this, because at the moment we have ministers and officials saying, well, you don't need a VAT cut now because the pound's so competitive. And that very conveniently forgets the situation prior to June last year, and also forgets the fact that the UK is currently second from bottom out of 136 economies for tourism tax competitiveness. More profoundly, it begs the question as to whether such an important industry should basically be at the whim of foreign exchange traders, political events, and/or economic mismanagement. We've certainly had a lot of that in the past. So my argument, our argument, would be that actually cutting VAT on accommodation and attractions now and in the future restaurants will strengthen our competitive position. It will allow businesses to better absorb some of these external hits that we've been taking on costs. And it will also be the tonic that is needed for some very long-running issues like the regeneration of Britain's coastal communities who rely on tourism. As I said, a silver bullet solution. And you know, we shouldn't forget that already 170 MPs in the last Parliament were signed up to agreeing to this, and several political parties. And I particularly like Plaid Cymru. This is their response to the Labour Party's manifesto, and I particularly highlight, that they will double the funding for Visit Wales and cut tourism VAT to put Wales ahead in the international tourism market. I couldn't have said it better myself, and they will certainly be getting my vote if they happen to be standing in North Dorset, where I live. So, as we head into this next general election and the post-Brexit economy, there is an awful lot at stake. Our industry has been undervalued and underappreciated for too long, and that has to change, because some of these policy issues before us are existential for some of our members. They're of critical importance to our industry and of critical importance to our country, particularly in the area of job creation. So now more than ever, we need to be together, we need to raise our voice, speak with one voice, and make sure that we are heard. So thank you very much.